The practice happens after. And just like football, when they go back and they watch the film after the game, right? They watch it to see how they can improve, even though they're at the highest level of football, NFL, right? Or NBA, they still go back. They know how to play. These guys have been playing forever, and they're the best of the best, but they still go back and look to see how they can improve. And that's the way professional radio and podcasters, radio hosts and podcasters do. Even after the game, after the show, we go back and we look at or hear, right? If you're just doing strictly audio, we go back and we hear the show, and we have to know how to self-critique. We have to know how we can improve the next show. Okay. And if it's on video, like nowadays, so many things are on video too. We got to watch video, because how can we improve our video presence too, our film presence, our video presence? So Jeanette asked me to talk about fishbowl. She asked me to talk about being a radio host. She asked me to answer your questions. And so I want it to be a very interactive type of class where you participate. That way you don't fall asleep, right? And I want to have fun. Now, is there a time limit to the class? Is there like a like 30 minutes, 20 minutes?
No, we'll be done. You got us until 8. It's 7:08. You got us until 8:30.
Okay, till 8:30. Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're here. We're here to learn. We're here to get as much information as we can. So first of all, I want to find out about you. So let's start on this side, and then I won't forget you, Katie. I know you're here with us on Zoom. So we're going to start over here. Tell me your name, a little bit about yourself, and why this class is important. What do you want to learn from this class?
So my name is Tiffany Dunn. I've been acting since 2010, and my husband and I started our own production company in 2021. And we produced one film, Indie Time. And so as our company, grow and as as Lyft grow, because I love Lyft. I joined Lyft like about I would say like 3 years ago. And I love everything they stand for, what they doing in the community. So to just be a part of that and to grow with them, is what I'm looking for. And what I'm going to learn out of this class is just, how to be a professional in my craft,
Okay.
I want to do, like red carpet host and just wherever I'm needed, just to help out.
Got you. All right. I got you. I got you covered. All right.
All right. Good evening again. I'm Tammy. I am a writer, director. I moved here from St. Louis about 3 years ago and joined Lyft. And for me, I just want to, not that I'm trying to be a radio host or anything like that, but for me, I wanted to better my communication skills and heighten that because of all the wonderful things that Lyft is about to embark on. When you're in these at these events and you're seeing people, meeting people, like for me, I kind of sit back in the cut a little bit. So I just really wanted to take my communication to a different level, knowing that I know that I am going to be encountering great people and strong, like-minded people. So being able to have that skill to be able to talk to people and look them in the eye and not feel like I'm just this small. So
yes,
that's kind of.
And communication skill is the number one sought after skill for companies all around the United States, more so than talent or maybe a skill set on a job. They want to know that you can communicate internally with people and then externally with their clients or other people. So communication skills are so critical, and you should invest time in learning how to be a great communicator, because so many doors can open for you just as a result of being a great communicator. I always used to say I wasn't the smartest one, but if I got in the seat to have that interview, I knew I was going to get the job because I had been honing my communication skills since I was this big. And so, yeah, it worked for me. But if you notice what I said, I've been honing the skills.
Yeah.
You know, being in speech and drama, Toastmasters, just since I was a little girl, because I knew I wanted to do something with communications. So you got to practice.
Yeah.
You got to participate. You got to get out there. Yes. And read as many books as you can on communication as well. So, all right, who's next?
I'm Michael Luttrell, presenting with you as well as the Texas Indie Award show.
Yes.
So we said the same thing.
Yes, I remember.
So I joined Lyft in 2020. My third year anniversary in September.
Nice.
So I started acting classes, and then so by day, I work actually at one of the hospitals close by in business intelligence, and so communication is very important. Actually, I just left from teaching a class, a software class that it was new.
Wow.
And I had to develop the curriculum and everything. So I was just like, I would teach a second part tomorrow, but interacting with clients from in different levels is a part of the communication. So after that, I started being more interested in voiceover. So I launched my voiceover business in August.
Nice.
I currently have 3 agents that I'm working with. So I'm auditioning, learning the business, continuing to grow. Taking acting classes. I finished a Minds and Very Intensive this year. Did a showcase for that. So I just continue to take classes and learn and grow. Because this business, that's what you have to continue to do.
Yep.
And meet people. And so, and improve voice. Taking a book narration class as well. And so just continuing in that. And then I take a improv class actually on Thursday with a group of people. So it's just continuously growing. So I just want to learn more about radio.
Nice.
And things like that. And one of the young ladies, I think she does her podcast with you, Nikidra Rogers.
Yes.
I work with her.
Okay,
And so,
Nikidra.
we actually work on the same leadership.
Optimistically Key is her show. And she's
So,
been doing really well.
like the things that she's excited about that.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Well, you know, I teach a voiceover class too. So the 3 ways that I made a living. Yeah. Yeah, the 3 ways I made my living since I was 17 is being a radio personality on FM radio, public speaking, going around the country and speaking, and being a motivational speaker, and then voiceover work. So those are my 3 passions. I do teach it, so I've been doing it since I was 17 professionally, and I'll be 60 in December. So it's no, the voiceover class is in person. You have to be there in the studio because we start recording from day 1. Yeah. So it's a 24-week class, and we go over every genre of voiceover that you can do, from audiobooks to, you know, technical voiceover. There's so many genres you can. It's not just commercials. So there's so many genres. And by the time you leave, you have your demo, which is what you need. You have to have a professional demo to shop around and to have for an agent. And, you know, so you get your professional demo done. And it's a really fun class. And I work one-on-one with you. And then you work also with our production director who is recording you and doing all the stuff. But we teach you how to get into the business, how to shop your demo. You know, if you want to get an agent, if you don't, how to monetize on your own. So it's a great class. I love it. So the class, I work one-on-one. So it really is based on your schedule and my schedule of what I have open. And we pick one day of the week that works for you. It's an hour a week, 1 day a week for 24 weeks. Yeah. So write my email down. It's Sammi, SAMMI, at fishbowlradio.com. And I really encourage people that are into acting to do voiceover because their range, what we talk about in voiceover is a term called range. And in voiceover, there's 2 kinds of range. There's delivery range, and then there's what we call your talent range. So your delivery range is basically how well you deliver something. Okay. And each commercial is like a little script. Okay. And how you're delivering that. Um, your talent range is how many talents you have to be able to deliver a script. For example, do you have multiple languages that you know? Like I know Spanish very fluently and English, so then I can do both voiceover in Spanish and English. That's probably the extent of my talent range. I do have a few character voices that I've created. But there's some people that are very skilled at doing accents, at doing different languages, at doing different character voices, not just characters that already exist. Like let's say a Mickey Mouse that's already been created, they can mimic and what is that called? Imitate them that you wouldn't be able to tell. And then they also know how to develop characters. So people that are actors are really good because they already can come with that creative spirit of knowing how to have some talent range. Now, everyone that's in voiceover has to have delivery range. Not everybody that is in voiceover has to have talent range. You can have a great voice or a voice that somebody wants and not necessarily have all these talents. It's just your natural voice. And a lot of misconception is that, well, I have to have this great voice. I have to sound like, I have to have this deep voice if I'm a man. I gotta be James. Yeah, I gotta be James Earl. Yeah. You don't. They look for everyday people. They want everyday people. My voice is nothing special. I'm just a mom. And I can read well, I can project well, I can inflect well, I can deliver well. So everyone needs to know how to deliver well. Not everybody has to have talent. But if you have the talent range and the delivery range, then you get that much more opportunity in the voiceover industry. So yeah, check out my class if you guys want it. So Sammi@fishbowlradio.com and I'll send you info. All right. Hi, Joel.
And so this is my second home. I've been here since 2006. I have a degree in English and theater. I'm a former secondary education theater teacher. And so I joined last year, I think mid last year, so I'm kind of a new member, and I was ready to hear about God. I know it for sure.
Amen.
And like Tanya said earlier, I've always had a philosophy of never stop learning. Even when I was a teacher, and so I'm just thankful for Jeanette that she is always making sure that we have courses and classes to help us enhance our skills in the industry, because you never know, opportunities can fall, and it's good to be prepared.
That's it.
So when the opportunity comes, we'll be prepared and we'll be ready. So I just look forward to learning more what you're gonna, because I hadn't thought about it, but then I said, you know what? I said, with Jeanette, there's no telling what she may call upon us to do, so I better go there.
I've been pushing them.
Good.
Junior class.
And so with you, and then I'm glad I did, because now you're saying I've had an interest in voiceover, because I've always found it quite interesting how I sound different. Voice, like a voice message.
Yes.
I don't understand why I sound so different than in person. Like when I play my voice message, that's me. I just had an interest in voiceover, so it's good to know that you teach that as well.
Yes, and that's common. Most people hear themselves and go, I don't like how I sound, or that's not me, but guess what? That's how you sound. It's kind of like the picture. It does. Yeah, Sammi, you have gained 90 pounds. Okay, that's you. No, that's not me. That picture doesn't lie. You know what I mean? So the voice doesn't lie. I mean, they even use voice to solve crimes because it's unique. Your voice is unique like a fingerprint, right? And so everyone has a very unique voice, and you just have to get comfortable with hearing yourself. And having that confidence that when you hear yourself, you say, okay, this is how I sound. And I like how I sound. you know, and a lot of people, again, they'll record themselves, they'll hear themselves back, and the first thing they say is, I hate how I sound. And I'm like, no, you can't hate how you sound if you want to be a voiceover, you know. You gotta love how you sound, you know. So all right, and let's go to KD. Can you hear us?
Hey,
Hello?
Sam. Yes, I can. How
All
are
right,
you?
KD, it's your turn. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you want to learn from this class?
Well, I am a very proud board member of Ladies in Film and Television. Yeah, I'm waving right now, but I look horrible, so I can't turn my camera on.
Oh, come on.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. But anyway, I've been doing speeches and things like that since childhood. So public speaking is not something that frightens me. But the funny thing is, I'm more comfortable when it's scripted, which may sound a little crazy. And I've been a co-host on talk shows before, and I had a lot of fun at it. But I wanted to do this class, one, because we have in Lyft, we have some segments coming up. And I think they're fabulous segments. And I kind of want to help Jeanette out a little bit because poor lady, she does a lot. She does a lot of stuff by herself. Is that her behind you?
Yeah, she's right here. She's next to me.
I'm at percent.
Okay. So I wanted to help Jeanette out. And plus for me, it will be, I think, good practice because as an actress, you know, you're on the red carpets, you're being interviewed, et cetera, et cetera. And I've seen some people bomb interviews. Partly because I won't say the name of the film, but they were asking one of the actors a question and they didn't really know the answer. So, and they were in the film. And I'm like, I don't ever want to be caught off guard like that. So I think it'll be good practice. And kind of getting out there a little bit outside of, you know, my day-to-day norm.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate everybody introducing themselves. And now I know who I'm speaking with and speaking to. And I kind of, you know, get a little bit about what you guys want to learn from me, and feel free to ask questions. But I'm here to share, you know, my expertise in the broadcasting industry. I do have 2 degrees in broadcasting, my BA and my master's. So I was going to school while I was in it, while I was working in it. And I can tell you that I'm just a school person and I like to learn. However, I can tell you that in hindsight, I probably should have spent that money on a business degree or a marketing degree, because me being in the business and living it and experiencing it every day did not mesh up with what I was learning in school at all.
So the OJT was a lot different.
Right. So it was a lot different. So with that said, you know, it's not that I discourage people to get broadcasting degrees or things like that, but I just think that you should try to get in the door doing an internship or getting a job, because it's completely different than what you actually learn, you know. Yeah. So and a lot starts with the technical stuff. And I got my degrees right away, like right when I graduated from high school early. I went and did my 4 and then did my 2 and then did so. But my point is that, like, the equipment we were working with at the university had not caught up with what was actually the equipment that was being used in the real job. So then what you were learning there had no relevance anymore. And technology moves so fast and so quick in the industry that you have to be up to date with what they're utilizing now, because not what they used 5 years ago. And sometimes schools are slower to catch up with that technology because they have budgets, and depending on what kind of school you go to or where you go to, they're just not keeping up. So then you get out and then you're not skilled with the equipment that a job has. So you got to get on the job training anyway. And depending on the market size, they're not there to train you. Like Dallas is the fourth largest radio market in the country. So they already expect you to know what you know. They don't have time to train you. You're like you're on because you're being hired because of what you already know. So a lot of times you have to go to a smaller market or a medium market to get that experience. So it can be very challenging. In 2023, everything has and is already going digital. As we see, everything is streaming. From movies. This weekend, me and my husband, we went to the movie theater, and that was one of the things we used to love to do before COVID, was go to movies. And for some reason, we just, after when COVID hit, we just stopped. But we finally went Saturday, 7 o'clock, Saturday night. You would think it'd be packed, right? We were the only ones in the theater, and it was Robert De Niro and DiCaprio's new movie. So it wasn't like some, we were the only ones there. And everyone is streaming, and so it's they're streaming their film, they're streaming their music, they're streaming their radio, podcasting. So everything is streaming. So I honestly believe, God had put Fishbowl in my heart 14 years ago, and I knew nothing about streaming at that time when he put it in my heart, but he had told me, Sammi, this is the future. This is where it's going. And he had always blessed me with giving me that, what was going to happen next in my career. And I always listened to him, and I was always on point. Like, people used to be like, you're so lucky in radio. Like, you always know the next move. Like, how come you don't get caught with all the downsizing and all this? And I'm like, well, it's not luck. It's like I obey God. It's blessed. It's not luck. So be still and listen. And so fast forward, when he asked me to do Fishbowl, the vision of Fishbowl, he said, everything that I prepared you for, you thought I was giving to you because that's what you wanted to do, which it is what I had wanted to do in my career since I was early on. But he said it was really to prepare you for what I'm asking you to do now. So I stepped out in faith, left a 6-figure job and top of my game, and jumped out in faith. And here we are 14 years later with Fishbowl, and everything has gone streaming. But when we first started, we're the only ones in the game in the nation. So it's been a journey. It hasn't all been roses. I was telling her it was roses, all the way until COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and we didn't shut down though. But we had challenges, and we're still there. We're still hanging in there. So I always listen to the Lord, and I'm like, do you still want us to keep going? And he keeps saying yes. As a matter of fact, just recently, when I was in the hospital, he said, not only do I want you to keep going, because I was like, okay, can I stop now? I'll be 60 in December. I want to stop. He's like, no, not only are you not going to stop, but I really need you to focus even more profoundly and your energies and efforts into more ministry-based shows and people getting to know who I am. Now I don't come from the radio world of Christian music or God. I come from, I was at 100.3 Jams, I was at K104, I was at Kiss FM, I was in secular radio, I was at these stations. I've always, though, had a faith since I was a very little girl that my grandmother instilled in me and my parents. But I'd never worked in that industry, so when people were like, oh, Kirk Franklin, like, who's that, Now I know. Yeah. I mean, like I was Prince and Michael Jackson and Janet, I had an opportunity to interview some amazing celebrities or stars in the radio industry, music artists in that genre. Because Dallas was they would pass by Dallas from California to get to New York and vice versa. Dallas was a big radio market, so they were always stopping in to the radio stations when they were going to do concerts here, or when they were going to release a new album here. So I was so blessed to get to meet all these awesome Madonna, Prince, Tina Turner, just so many celebrities. And then now that he's telling me to do Fishbowl, which when Fishbowl came to be, me and my naivety, when I was like, okay, well, what am I going to name this place? Well, it's going to be studios. Okay, I'm going to call it Fishbowl because in the radio industry, we call the studios fishbowls. Like headphones, you say cans. We call it like, hey, your show's on in the fishbowl because there's always a glass. Like, I'm gonna call it fishbowl because it's gonna be studios. Little did I know later he goes, no, you silly girl. No, you're calling it fishbowl because I'm a fisherman of men. I'm naming it for my world because that's why you're calling it fishbowl. Yeah, see, and I did it. I was like, yes. So that's why I called it the fishbowl. He goes, you're gonna have all kinds of people. It's gonna be black, white, Hispanic, old, young, tall, short, everybody. You're gonna just like a fishbowl with all colors, and that's what happened. But because I came from the secular world of music, I said nobody had done this, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And when you're in radio, when a new song comes out, or somebody gives you a song and says, hey, will you play it on the station? Before we play it on the station, program directors, what we do is we'll take it to different places, like different clubs or different things, and we'll see kind of how it hits. We'll see people's reactions. We kind of, want to see an organic excitement. And then when we see people are reacting and responding, then we might put it on the radio. Especially if it's a really new person that doesn't have a label behind that we've already built relationships with. So I said, I'm going to use the same strategy with Fishbowl. I'm not going to use my influence, or I'm not going to even tell anybody I'm behind it, or my friends that are in the TV and radio world that are my good friends. I'm not even telling them I'm doing this. I'm just going to do it quietly and then put it out there and see what happens. See I didn't know who would come or what, because there was no model to look at in the United States. I studied, there was nothing to look at. So this was back in 2009.
I guess listening to you, I'm thinking like at this moment, especially since COVID, I think people are yearning for something spiritual. Like they want that positivity.
Yes.
Because I think we've lived for so long under the COVID umbrella, and if things got dark, it felt like.
Yes.
And so now, you moving and listening to God to
Yes.
take it in a more spiritual direction.
Yeah.
We are looking for that, and the streaming has allowed us to, even though we're all still on our devices, but a lot of people are watching inspirational things.
Yes.
And they're sharing a lot of that now. So that's what I feel like we're needing. And so if God is giving you that.
Well, organically it came because I put it out there, right? I didn't tell my radio friends. I didn't want anybody to know I was behind. I just wanted to see what the market would there be a need for it. Right. And this was back in 2009. So I put it out there. I put one Craigslist ad up. Back then Craigslist was, So I put one Craigslist up, say, Fishbowl Radio Network, we're looking for hosts. I didn't know who would come. And again, I'm sick. I said, you can host your own show. Music, sports, politics, ministry, business, health. Just come host your show, right? We're going to build a network. And what started coming was mostly inspirational and ministry-based shows. Okay. So just organically. So to this day, I'm going to say a good 80 to 90% of our shows are ministry-based shows and inspirational, always has been. Now we have other shows, we have the sports show, the politics, but they're not the bulk. And so even with that said, just recently, he said, now I need you to really focus even more on looking and recruiting and finding those people that want to be inspirational, motivational, because the world is in a real dire place. And so this computer, right, our phones, as much as it has opened up so many opportunities, and my whole business is streaming, and has provided so much information. Remember, it's like a battery, it's got the dark side too. And so we have to continually flood it with the light,
Absolutely.
you know, to give
You know how the
balance, to give,
media has-
yes,
has taken-
yes.
So, you know, we have to come out, we have to get some.
And the
balance.
beautiful thing is in our country, we get to express, right? We get to say what we want to say. We're not gonna get shot if we talk about Christ. We're not gonna get, yeah. And so anyway, so that's the fishbowl story in a nutshell. But to be a radio personality, I think one of the biggest things is, you know, you talked about preparation, you know, and Oprah's the one that says success equals preparation plus opportunity equals success. So your job is to keep preparing yourself so that when that opportunity comes, you can walk through that door and get it. And I think because I'd always been preparing in, you know, speech and drama classes in junior high and going to Toastmasters with my dad and loving to speak and being in oratory and then in speech and drama in high school and theater and all those things. When the opportunity came at 17 that, hey, there's this radio station hiring and they're looking for someone, that's a good, you know, I said, okay, I want to be in communications. I was able to walk through that door easily because those skills were there.
So at 17?
At 17.
What was that?
So I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. And so I'm glad that I started in my hometown at that market because by the time I got to Dallas, which wasn't that much longer, but I got to Dallas, I was 22. But when I got to Dallas, all they want you to do is do your show. It was like, okay, you're the talent, just do that. And it's kind of neat. You're like, oh, that's cool. Right. Like I was like, wow. I was like, okay, you know, because I had come from a city which was they would consider it a middle market where we had to do everything. You know, their budgets weren't as big. It wasn't the fourth largest radio market, but that was great training because I learned how to do everything. Okay, so then when times got tough in radio and the economy and they were having to let people go, they kept the people that knew multiple skills. So I knew how to do production. I knew how to do promotions. I knew how to do a radio show. I knew how to do analytics. But I learned that in my small town because you had to. So the more you know, the more valuable you are in those times, you know, when you're downsized. But I think the most important thing in anything that you're going to do in a show, and I know that you said, Kay, that you like script. One of the things I loved about radio, I did do television for a while. I thought that's what I wanted to do. My dream was to be like, when I was a little girl, I'm going to be the next Barbara Walters. But I wanted to do TV. And so I got into radio, my first job, because I was told, hey, that's a good way to transition into TV. Because the people in my hometown that owned the station I got the job at also owns TV station. So a year after I did radio, they did hire me on TV. And I hated it. I hated I begged them. I had signed a 2-year contract. I begged them to go back to radio. I mean, like I got on my knees after 6 months. And I was like, please, I want to go back. And they were like, why? Everybody works together. And I said, I hate dressing up. I'm such a tomboy. I hate radio's fun. I'm getting to play music. I'm getting to give money away. Everybody loves you. Everybody's happy. And here in news, all we're talking about is the fire and the economy and the war. And then at the very end, it's like a good fluffy story. And you got to look great from here up every day. Yeah. Now I was back in my 20s, you know, I was okay. But I just didn't feel me. And it was very depressing. It wasn't fun. And it was very scripted. I call TV like that. It's like an oak. It's but radio is like a willow. Yes, you have a plan, but it's free. And that's more my personality. I'm a free flowing girl. So for me, I hate scripts. You know, she's got the script right here and I haven't looked at it once. And I won't, you know, because I don't like scripts. I believe that you have to come from your heart. I believe in authenticity. I believe people can hear, and I don't want to read to people. I want to talk with people. I want to be with people. And so I think for me, that's been part of my success, is that even when I make mistakes on the air, which I made a lot of them, that was me. And it makes you human and it makes you fun. And I don't believe in the perfectionist. To, people try to be perfect, and I think perfect is boring, so there's no fun in it, there's no challenge in it, like if you can do a show that's perfect, then you're like, all right, without a script, then you're like, okay, I got it. But it's rare when it happens, right? It's rare when it happens, but you got to have fun, right? So the most that I've learned in radio is be yourself. Nobody can be like you. Don't try to sound like this other person. You might have someone that you like on the radio and oh, I want to sound like that. No, you can't sound like them. Number one, I've already told you your voice is unique. And one of the funniest things when I teach classes or work with fishbowl hosts, I'll be talking to him in the hallway. We'll be talking about the football game or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden they go in the studio and they put on the headphones and they're behind the mic. And all of a sudden they talk like that. And in our industry, we call them pukers, right? Because they talk, they're about to puke. Right. So I go in there and I go, what are you doing? Like, you did not sound like that right now in the hallway. Like, why are you doing? Well, that's my radio voice. And I'm like, but there is no radio voice. There's you, and you're communicating with people out there, and you want to be yourself. You want to be authentic. Now, don't get me wrong. Back in the 50s and 60s, they looked for that voice. The Wolfman Jack and, Casey Kasem. Like that was the thing. But ever since, I'm going to say from the mid 80s on, that went out and they wanted everyday people. Look at Tom Joyner, look at Ryan Seacrest, look at Kid Craddock, just regular everyday people that can just be themselves. And so I don't know what it is. And it happens with women too. They'll put on that headphone, they start sounding sexy all of a sudden. This is Sheila. She was just cussing in the hallway and like, oh wow, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden she's like, hey. Yes. It's interesting. It's interesting. But so just be you and have fun. And you do have to have a heightened kind of sense of personality, but that's why you're called a personality, a radio personality, because how I am off the air is how I am on the air. Like there's no difference. Like I'm crazy with my family, with my friends, and I'm going to be, and that's the way I'm on the air too. So there's not a change, there's not a shift in a sense. Yeah.
No, the reason I say that because with me hosting, like I do a lot of our, hosting for Live.
Yeah.
And I really don't. I was listening to you. I wasn't going to say anything, but I really did. I don't like my voice. I literally don't like my voice. I want somebody else's voice. I think I sound. I don't know how I sound.
But somewhere that's a mental block, right? And so I teach my students because again, we'll record them, and the first thing they say, like clockwork, is I hate how I sound, but they're in the voiceover class and they want to get in this industry. And I'm like, that's like wanting to own a pizza parlor. You hate pepperoni, and pepperoni is the number one pizza, and it's going to be around you, and you're going to smell it, and you're going to taste it, and it's going to fall on your shirt. But you want to own a Domino's, but you hate pizza. No, because yeah, you see what I'm saying? So you're there somewhere in your life, somebody might have said something about your voice. I mean, you're gonna have to go and think about it.
Because I always feel like I sound amazing.
Who said this to you?
I can't remember. I think it's probably a bunch of kids.
Okay.
I have a little nasally nose.
Okay.
And they
So see how she said,
Nobody wants that.
yeah.
yeah.
But see, what I'm telling you is, see what she said? You can always track it to something. And she said, for her, she said, it was a bunch of kids. So she was bullied. She was told this, and it was a lie because kids are mean and stupid. And so,
and so I feel like what we're doing is we're thinking about like what the next person is thinking about us when
Correct.
we're just speaking
Correct.
to them. So
Yes.
and that's why we say we don't. Because for me,
Yes.
listening to you throughout, I'm like Jeanette has this bubbly
yeah,
personality.
you have a great
It's
voice.
just
And
crazy.
somebody wants that voice,
Yeah.
that sound.
So
Look at
it's like,
Ann
you
Drescher.
may be thinking too much about what
Yeah.
maybe that person that you're talking to or whom you're talking to is thinking about you. So you're
Mhm.
already self-destructing a little bit.
Somebody might have said something and then you got, it got in your head, it became an insecurity, but you gotta push that aside, and only you can do it to say, you know what, that was a lie. It's not true. This is the voice God gifted me with. And it's the voice that he wants me to use, or he would have made me mute. And I do have the ability to speak and communicate and say words that can move people to him, to action, to whatever. And it's my job to practice and hone the message and the delivery, but the actual tone of my voice. And there can be things done with tone, and we do vocal exercises and things like that. But your core initial voice doesn't completely change.
I like that, because that changes, what triggered me to say that is because I have done that when I worked for Sprint.
Yes.
Years ago. And I would be, girl, you what? And then as soon as I get on the phone, thank you for calling Sprint. This is Jeanette. How may I help you? Great, wonderful. I mean, and I think we had a class and I shared that I was fake.
Right.
And you just, when I'm listening to you about, it was funny because you said, why did you do that?
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
But now I actually stopped that. I stopped that at Sprint, and probably why they ended up firing me maybe a couple years, because I literally became Jeanette.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't accept this country
Yeah.
Black girl in this voice, I'm gonna try to use better grammar, but that's me.
Well, grammar-wise,
Right.
then you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
You have to be yourself.
Right.
You have to be authentic, because people can hear fake.
Right.
People can hear fake.
She got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sammy, let me ask you this. Okay, and me talking to you right now.
Yeah.
So I'm a drunk, right? So with the technology though, like I mentioned before, when I hear my voice recorded on the voice, I sound like a little girl.
You do have a little tone too, of a little girl to you.
Doesn't technology alter that? Doesn't it make it? Doesn't technology play a part in that? Because talking to you, I sound like a good woman, right? But
Well,
then
when I first heard you, you do have a quality that's childlike.
and somebody wants their voice.
And somebody wants that voice. As a matter of fact, when everybody was introducing them, you had the most unique one that stood out, right? Because it does have a childlike quality to it. And somebody wants that exact voice. Think of Ann Drescher, the nanny. Remember? And she talked like it was like nails on a wall. But she made millions. I mean, that voice is what made her famous. So yes, I can do a commercial. I remember one time I did one for Kiss FM, a commercial for Halloween. It was, the haunted house. And then I read it in my normal voice, but then they brought it down so low. I sounded like scary. They did scary thing. Like you wouldn't have known it was me at all. Technology was able to do that. And then I did stuff where they can, twig me real high, so I sound like Mickey Mouse. So yes, there are things you can do with technology. But when I'm talking about, so there's the difference between voiceover work, you are acting, they're mini scripts, and each script calls for a different character. So you are acting, but radio and podcasts, that's being yourself. That's being you. Or when you go public speaking, that's being you. Now, voiceover is being a character sometimes. And sometimes it is being you, because I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, and I can do a Macy's commercial in my normal voice because I fit that demographic, right? But then if they ask me to do one of a little girl or something, I can still do that because I can use technology to tweak my voice and make it sound more childlike. Does that make sense? But podcasting and radio shows should be you. You should be authentically you. Yeah, be yourself. That's the number one key. Number one key. Now, I know you all mentioned about red carpets, and y'all had some questions about red carpets. So I've gotten a chance to do tons of red carpets all over the United States, and they're so much fun. And so what I can tell you about red carpets that I think is important is do your homework. Do your homework. You're still yourself. You still always want to be yourself. But know why you're there. Usually a red carpet hostess is there to make that event, take that event to another level, right? Because we say it's a red carpet event. We want to add pizzazz, that class or that sparkle, right? It's the sparkle on the cake. And so you want to look your best. I always tell people you don't have to be Denzel Washington or Angelina Jolie, but you have to be the best version of yourself as possible. I remember when we were hiring people to be on the radio, and it was down to 2 or 3 candidates. They all had the skill. They all had, sound great on the radio. They all had the personality. You know what it came down to? Who physically presented themselves the best. Not necessarily who was the best looking, but who are we going to want to send out to an event to represent the radio station? Who would represent the radio station the best? All right. So take pride in your appearance, because when you're out there, you're not just and me, I was such a tomboy. Like I do like makeup. I've always liked makeup, but I hate I say dresses and heels and jewelry and all that stuff. Like I was an athlete for many, many years. So I was like a tomboy. So when I had to start, the good thing was, because I was an athlete, I was in really good physical shape. When I started my career, I was really in good shape. But it was because I was an athlete, not because I wanted to look good. I just loved athletics. It just so happened that made me look good. Right. It was like, okay. But so then when I'm like, okay, we're going to send you here, we're going to send you there. I remember they had to get me an account with, at the time, at Irving Mall at Agassi, because I was like, I don't have any dresses. They're like, you don't have any dresses? No. So Agassi became my sponsor, so I could go get a dress every time we had an event and wear, the event and the shoes and everything. But wow. Yeah, it was cool. So, but my point is, try to look the best you can, because you're there, yes, to represent God always, to represent your family, to represent yourself, but you're also there because you were asked to be the red carpet host for that event. And they're asking you to kind of be part, like a hostess, like you're the hostess in the sense, you're the one that they see first when they walk in. And you're going to set the tone of what that event is going to be like. And so always try to present yourself as best as you can. So that's the first thing with red carpet. Second, do your homework. Like, know what the event's about. Know the things that you should be talking about. As people come up, try to put a face to what they're doing, to ask them some questions. You're almost interviewing them, but a red carpet is a quick mini interview. It's because you want the line to keep moving and to keep rolling. So it's up to you to keep rolling, to keep it moving. But know about the event, know about the people that are invited to the event, and who do you get all that information from? Whoever's putting the event on. I always tell them to send me all that information before I go, so that I can be as educated as possible as I can. So that if somebody's walking up and I already kind of know their name, I'm just like, hey, she's like, how does she know my name? Oh my God. Like, that's the level you want to take it to. So, hey, I heard you're so-and-so in this play that we're doing. Okay, they've never met me in my life. How did I, but I did my homework before. That makes you a better red carpet hostess, right? You're going to be taking a lot of pictures too when you're in the red carpet. So, smile. Smile, smile, smile. People can hear your smile. Have fun. Make it enjoyable. Do some crazy things. So that's red carpet stuff. Do you all have any other questions about red carpet stuff? That's my red carpet advice. Get there early. Get there early. If the thing is at 7, get there at 6. Be there an hour early, even if nobody's there and you're the first one there, because you are going to be the first one that they put, up, because that's the first thing people see. So get there early. Don't be running in late. Be professional. Those are the things that make you professional. The one thing that they do not tolerate in media is lateness. They do not tolerate it at all. Yeah, they just don't tolerate it. And also being there an hour early gives you time to kind of go pee if you have to go pee, go touch up, go get some water, just be calm and not rushing, like parking and then running and then, your heel breaks and then, so be on time. Be on time to events. And that's hard. Like that was one of the hardest things for me in my radio career, because they will fire you. Like if your show starts at 10, you better be there at 10 to do that first, break. I was like OJ Simpson. Literally, I was known for this in my radio career, like running from the daily. Like the morning guys would have, I was usually the midday girl. So like the morning guys would have the door open going 3, 2, and I'd literally like put my headphones in and go, hi, this is everything. But I would make it. I was never late. And there was times I was speeding down 635 or wherever the radio station was. I mean, I got pulled over a few times. I'm like, I'm on the radio here, I'm sure. Like, okay, go. Like I was carrying shirts in my car. Like there was like, I don't know why I don't know if it's my OCD or what, but like I have to do certain things before I leave my house. But I wouldn't take into consideration traffic. And I don't know how, by the grace of God, I would get there. And it was horrible. It was horrible because I was all stressed out. Yeah, I was all stressed out and frazzled. But yeah, but be on time. No, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And being that you have experience doing that, are there certain questions that you would recommend to stay away from and asking those?
So whenever I do interviews, and I told you I got to interview so many awesome A-list music artists and some sports figures and some acting people. So some of them, if we already, like for instance, if I had noticed that they were going to be coming like on this day, their people will send you stuff that's off the record, like that you can't ask. Okay. But a lot of times it was somebody that would come at the last minute unexpected. And like the person at the front desk at the station goes, Sammy, Madonna just walked in. Oh my God, wait, okay. They're walking down the hall. You better hurry up. After this song, you're gonna interview her. And I'm like, because you can't act starstruck and they want to be comfortable. And so you're like, remember back then there wasn't no Google and all this quick stuff. So you had to be well read on the music people that you played. You had to know information. But so when I went to college, this is an example of what I said, that it's nothing like the real world. So they taught you when you're going to interview to research, and then write your questions and then be ready and prepared. Okay. So when I was going to do my first interview back in my little town, that's what I did, what I had learned in school. And so, in that town, it was, oh, you did good, Sammy, you did good. Well, I come to Dallas, and so it's going to be my first interview, and I do the same thing because I've been being told I'm doing good, and doing what I was taught in school, and I did it, and I almost got fired. Okay, I almost got fired, and so my program director, who's my mentor, still my I call him my radio dad, Elroy Smith. He said, Sammy, who the hell taught you how to interview? That sucked. And I was like, really? I'm like 20 something years old, and I'm like, but you can't cry. So I was like, what do you mean? I go, I did what they taught me in school, and back home I've been on air for 3-4 years, and everybody loves, like I get all the interviews. They say I do the best interviews. That sucked. And I was like, what? He goes, let me show you. And he put it in. And back then it was a cassette. He goes, listen, you asked the first question, she answered, and then you went to the second question that had nothing to do with the answer she gave you from the first question. It was all disconnected. You got to think like the listener. What do you think their next question is after hearing her answer? So, young lady, from this moment forward, there's only one question you have to prepare for, and that's the first one.
Wow,
After that,
wow.
there is no other question. You become the best listener that you can be because it's a conversation, not an interview. And so with my students, we actually do that role play where I tell them to put some questions, research, and then we do it both ways. I play them back so that they can actually hear how terrible it sounds when you do it this way, the way we're normally taught. So, you prepare the first question, make sure that that question is really good, and then you just shut up and listen, and let that person you're interviewing speak. And when they're speaking, you should be listening.
And it should, the rebuttal
And
kind
your
of
second
be
question
maybe
should be
something.
right. Your second question should be off of what they said,
Yeah, yeah.
so that if there's a connection.
Okay.
And more than likely, the people that are listening are thinking that too,
Right,
right?
right.
So when I changed that, it just changed everything. I mean, that one little tip, I mean, it just changed everything. And you have conversations with people, right? Now, when there's going to be, for instance, let's say I was interviewing a music artist that was promoting. The reason people do interviews is because they're promoting something, or they want exposure. They're promoting a book or a song or an event or a concert or a play or whatever, right? They're there because they want to promote. So make sure that you incorporate that towards the end, that you're going to give them that opportunity to talk about their new song, or you're going to talk about the event, because that's why they're there. And if you don't touch on that, they're going to get pissed off because if you never hit on that, but so number one, why are they coming? Why do they want exposure? Because they like, Madonna doesn't give a damn about me. She wants the exposure because she just put on a new song. So then, okay, what's the name of the new album? When does it come out? Those are the facts. The facts you can write down because you want to know the facts. But other than that, your first question, and then listen, and then have conversations. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's also a lot easier on you too. Yeah. Now, usually the next question I'll get from students is, well, what if you get somebody that's just like, yeah, no.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, and I have had two in my career that were famous people that were like that. So at that point, this is what I tell people, and this is what my mentor taught me. You're not there. You're there to serve your audience. The audience is always the greater number. So you might have a famous person here. That's just one person, as opposed to 10,000 or 100,000 or however many you have listening. Your job is to serve them, not this one person. Remember, you're doing this person a favor. You're giving them exposure. Okay. Even if it is a big A-list person, they're there because they know what they're getting. So before you go on the air, tell them, hey, my job is to serve my listeners. So come with your A game, because if you're going to be just giving me these one answer questions, I'm going to cut you off. This 10-minute interview is going to turn into 2 minutes. Because my job is to serve the listener and get ratings. And if they leave, they're not going to be listening to you anyway. So let's have some fun. Let's make it exciting. Now, there's just some people, again, this happened to me twice in 30, 40 years. That's not a lot. And I interviewed a lot of people, so that's not too many times. And I cut them off. I made it really short. And I went right to the facts, like, okay, don't forget to get their book at Barnes and Noble, da, da, da. And they're just looking at me like, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Because you weren't giving me anything to. And then I've had people that they were only going to be there for 30 minutes, and they were there the whole 4 hours with me. Sinbad was one of them.
Oh.
He came on, he was just, yeah, he was just gonna promote that he was at the Improv, and he ended up staying the whole show, and he took over. I just sat back. Because he was so entertaining and funny and great. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Because you're there, like, what's the best thing for the audience? So if you know that that person's going to be the best thing for the audience, take over. You know what I mean? Let go. Here you go.
Yeah.
Because you're there to serve the audience. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Issues, concerns, thoughts? Now, so let me talk to you about podcasting and streaming, because a lot of people have questions about what is a podcast, and they don't clearly know. It's just a new term that everybody's using, and it's cool. I want a podcast. I want a podcast. Like there was a point where everybody wanted to be a rapper, and then right.
They think it's like radio.
Yeah. No, so everyone, there's these trends, what I call trends, right? And everybody all of a sudden is a rapper.
Yeah.
Then there was a point where everybody was a web designer. Then there was a point, but are they really? Like, are they really?
Exactly.
So, like, I cook, right? I suck at cooking. I really do. My poor family. No, this is how bad it is. Like, think about it. And my kids are adults now. Like, I have he'll be 30 on the 9th, Angelo, this month in a few days. And then my daughter's 28. Okay, this is how I think subconsciously I ruined them, because I sucked so bad as a cook that both of them, one's a boy, Angelo, and one's a girl. Why are their significant others? They're not married because these kids don't want to get married, but the mothers, they have kids and they've been with their people for a long time. Why are they both professional chefs?
They married him. They made sure they found someone.
On Christmas Day.
No more bad. No more bad.
Yeah. I go, was that on the top of y'all's list or what? But it was on the top of mine when I married my husband. I was like, you cook good, because I don't. But anyway, my point is, what was my point? Oh, no. So it's like me saying, just because I make spaghetti for my kids, that I'm a chef. No, I'm not a chef. Like these two, like they've gone to culinary school, cordon bleu, and they know the knives, they know the spicing, they know certain, you know what I mean? They know the names. They're like this at the stove, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? Like, I just want to throw everything in a pot. Let's go, right? Like, so I'm not gonna try to open a restaurant. I'm just not gonna do it, because I'm not a chef. I'm not gonna, I'm not a chef. So just because you can talk doesn't mean you can do a radio show or a podcast. You have to know how to do it. You have to know how to play the game to get listeners. Because without listeners, then what's the point of a show? Because then you can't make impact. Then you can't have change, and you can't move people down. But if you don't know that or how to do that, because you haven't been trained and taught, then you're just talking. And the whole point of a show is not to talk, it's to be heard. If you're heard, that's when you make impact. If you're heard, that's when you can create change. If you're heard, that's when you can move people to action. But if you're just white noise, and you're just talking, there's a strategy. Just like football has a strategy, there is a whole strategy to this thing we call broadcasting. And if you've never, they don't even teach it in the schools. I didn't learn it from the schools. I learned it from, I just happened to have been blessed to be hired in my 20s here in Dallas by Elroy Smith, who's one of the top 3 radio people in the country. And to this day, he's my radio dad. And he taught me these things. And when I learned them, prior to that, I was in radio, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Everything changed. The dollar signs changed. Everything changed. Everything changed. But I didn't know that there was even a strategy to it. So if you're going to do something, you should invest the time to do it right. if you're gonna, everything takes time, money, and energy. Or you can say time, resources, and energy. If you're gonna take time, resources, and energy to do something, and you want to do it because it's a passion or a purpose, then take the time to invest in learning how to do it correctly. Now, I don't have a passion for cooking. I just eat to live. Just give me, I don't live to eat. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So I don't really care about it too much. Just give me a sandwich and let's go. There are people that food is just very important to them. Yeah. So
That's my husband.
yeah.
I'm like her.
Well, my husband's like that. My husband can cook so good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you do this sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm busy. I'm doing, So with that said, like if you want to do it and you're going to invest time, energy, and resources, if you don't do it right, then you're wasting time, resources, and energy. So if I was going to open a restaurant, then I would take the time to go to culinary school. I would take the time to learn. I would take the time, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do radio. So I've taken the time to, for years, decades, invest in it. And it changes. I started with vinyl. I was with vinyl. Then it went to carts. Then it went to CDs. Then it went to the computer. Now it's streaming, which is the computer. And I had to learn all those. And many people wouldn't transition with the changes. They're like, and they got fired because they didn't want to go with the flow. Or they were afraid, or they just didn't want to. Yeah, so they would end their careers. So stay up to date, learn about it. The best tip that I've gotten is whatever you're passionate about, spend at least an hour a day reading about it so that you're an expert, because people pay for expertise. Okay, so how much time are you investing in your craft of theater, of acting, of film, of podcasting, of whatever it is you want to do? Like immerse yourself. If it's a true passion, I mean, there's no way you can do something from the age of 17 to 60 if it wasn't passion. Because there's times that you just want to go, I don't want to do this or that, but I'm still excited about it. So I can still talk about, I still love it. I still love to teach people now and see people doing it. But I have to stay up to date with it. So I have to read all the magazines that have to do with streaming and podcasting and, the trends and what's going and the technology and apps and blah, 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 blah. When I thought, we were back here just queuing up a record. But look how it's evolved. So if you want to stay in the game of what you're passionate in, you got to stay up with the technology. You got to stay up with the information. And then you got to get in touch with some good mentors. Got to have some good people. You got to have some good people. So what you guys are doing today, that's why I'm proud of you. You showed up, right? It was easier to go home, get in your blanket, watch a movie, but you came and spent some time to learn something, make a network connection, and you never know. That's what it takes to accomplish the dreams that you want.
Sammi.
Hi.
Hi.
I forgot about you.
I know, and Jeanette's nobody's monitoring. My hand has been up for a long time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a technical question for you. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this because I know you were in a real studio, but I'm in the process of setting up a home studio. And I wanted to ask about, because I was interviewed by Jeanette. I was in this fabulous movie called E40S, and I was interviewed by Jeanette, and I kind of sort of practiced. I sat there in my space and I had my lights, and I called a friend on the phone, and she's like, your lighting looks good. But what I forgot to do was charge the freaking light because it wasn't a plug-in light. So I don't know if Jeanette noticed, but during the interview, my lights started dimming out and I was like, crap. And I just kept moving it around. I had multiple lights, but my question is, do you have any advice? And I think I know what I should have done, what I did wrong, but for like setting up a home studio, if you're going to be doing podcast from home.
So I have two sides to it. Okay. Obviously, I
Okay.
own Fishbowl and we take all the work out of it. Like you're
Right.
you're gonna have a tech, you're gonna have studio, you're gonna have the lights, you're gonna have the equipment. You have to worry about all that. I had a client, and she did her show with us for a long time, and then she's like, "No, COVID hit." She goes, "No, I think I'm just gonna do my own studio. I can't afford it, and I'm gonna go here." Okay, where are you gonna put your podcast on? What are you gonna stream it through? And then how are you gonna market it? And da, 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 da. But anyway, so okay, bye, go do your thing. Well, like 2 weeks later, she calls me. She's like, I bought all the equipment I'm doing. She goes, I can't do this. I'm coming back. Okay, so there's that. With that said, though, if you want to do your own studio, you can, right? And it's like, again, it's like anything. The crazy thing about what's out there now is you've got everything from really high-end costly stuff to low-end stuff that's poor quality and everything in between, right? So you have to just do some research to to find out what's the best quality of mics, what's the best lighting, what's the best this and that, so that you can have the best stuff to put forward, to put out there. So I always say get at least three like bids, three ranges. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to the highest end, but don't go to the lowest end, kind of stay in between there of stuff. For sure, you have to be soundproof. Like you want to be in a soundproof area. If there's windows around, you got to be very careful. Your mics have to be high quality. Again, your lighting has to be good. Um, you know, it's not that expensive to put something together that is doable, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. I just messed up. I thought of everything, but I didn't charge the dang light and it started dying in the middle of the interview.
And you know what? And don't panic. Look, this is another thing I tell people too that drives me crazy. I'm like, and I'm very transparent. I say what I'm saying here, I'll say it out loud. I say it at Fishbowl because I'm just me, right? You either like me or you hate me, but I love both lines. I love my haters and I love my lovers. I love you all. I love you all. So this is what I say. Half these people would 99.9% of these people at Fishbowl would not have made it in real radio. You know why? Because if there's anything that goes wrong, like a technical glitch or something, they freak out on the air while they're doing a show.
Okay.
Like the lights dimming and they're like, they're in the middle of something and the lights dimming and they're looking at the light, and they're like they panic. No, you just keep it rolling. You never let them see you sweat. Most of the time people aren't going to notice, and if they do, make it part of the show. Like that's the part that's being authentic and real. Like say something about it. Go, hey, I know my light's dimming, but you know what, the person I got next to me brightens it all up. She's the star. Like you got to think on your feet. You got to improvise. You got to be quick, and you got to keep it going, and you cannot panic. One of the things that is sure to happen a lot of times, more than you can imagine, is things go wrong. We're dealing with computers. They freeze up. You're going to get an update in the middle of your show and everything stops. There's a power outage. Your mic doesn't work. The picture behind you falls. I don't know. And, make it part of the show. Have some fun. Have quick wit and keep going. That's what makes, my mentor used to say this. I can hire people to do a good show when everything's perfect. That's easy. I need to hire people that can do a good show when everything's messing up. That's the professional. That's who I want. And you can't panic, and you got to laugh about it, and you can't freak out about it. Like there's a lot of perfectionist syndrome going around. You got to look good. The backdrop has to be perfect. Everything. Now, I'm not saying your image is not important. But what is even more important, because there's levels, there's degrees of importance, there's priority. And you know what the priority is? Show up. Show up, and consistency is more important than everything being perfect. Now, if you can get it perfect, cool, but don't not do something because it's not perfect. Or when you're doing something, if something happens, laugh at it. Don't let it. I have seen so many people get in bad attitudes, get frustrated, walk off the set, throw diva tantrums. And I'm just looking at them like, the people I worked with that were real professionals that could have acted like divas, they never acted like that. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So, yeah, yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did, and my friend tuned in and she was like, I couldn't tell your lighting was going wrong because I'm kind of sort of like, I was mad at myself because I'm
Yeah.
like, I did a Zoom with a friend the day before just to make sure the lighting was good. And then, but I think it turned out great. So
But
anyway,
see, Kay, Jeanette just said you're a perfectionist.
I am.
Okay, so I'm about to diffuse that. I'm about to diffuse that for you and you.
You're a perfectionist too?
Okay, first of all, it doesn't exist. You're lying to yourself. There is no such thing as perfect.
You're right.
So you're striving for something that doesn't even exist. It's not even real. We crucified the one that was perfect.
You're right.
What do you think? What do you think people are going to do to you? So like your friend said, I'm glad you shared that. You said your friend said that she didn't even notice. Most of the time, most people don't notice things unless we point them out.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you need to take that pressure off yourself of something that's not even real. It's an illusion. And it will hinder you more than it will help you because it's too stressful to try to attain. Be messy.
Thank you so much. And I was also going to say, and thank you for listening to God and following his instructions.
Always. And that's it. We're already perfect because he made us in his image.
Right.
And we're already awesome. Yes. So, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself because then you can't be free and light and people can feel that.
I appreciate that, Sammy. Thank you.
You got this. You're beautiful. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. And laugh. When you mess up, laugh because every time you make a mistake, you learn. That's why I always say there's no such thing as failure. It's failing forward because you learn from every mistake you make. Now, if you keep making the same mistake over and over, now that's just damn stupid.
Right. Right.
So I always tell my kids and people, I'm like, there's learning and then there's stupidity. Learning is you made a mistake, you learned from it, so it was a lesson. Like, so you gained some, like, I needed to make that mistake to learn this. But if I keep making the same mistake over and over, no, that's just stupidity.
I agree.
But there is no perfectionism. So have fun. Work ethic has nothing to do with perfectionism. And it probably will be most of the time, but well, what happens when it doesn't? Like, are you so hard on yourself?
Now listen, this I have in the last 2 years with COVID hit, I think, and that was something I learned. Like you said, I'm giving myself more grace.
Yes.
It didn't quality wasn't positive. I wasn't about it, but it's okay. When before I was just like, I don't want that. I want excellence. So yeah.
Yes. And excellence is subjective, right? We all define it. We all define it as what one person might think is excellent, another might person not. So that's the reason it doesn't exist because it's all subjective. So for one person, that might be excellent. For another person, that's not enough. And it's too hard to keep track of. It's too much to try to please everybody, But yes, do your best. I'm not saying not. Put your best foot forward. Do your best, but don't beat yourself up.
And usually the outcome, when it's not that much, putting so much emphasis on that, you find that you find the best outcome of the situation because you didn't allow yourself to put that pressure on you.
Yes.
And you just let it happen.
Yes.
And even with a mistake, it still turned out, it turned out probably
Yes.
better than where you were going in your head with it.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
And when you're performing, whether it's on stage, on a show, on a podcast, you have to have joy.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun and you're so wound up because you want it to be perfect, then you won't do your best performances.
Any
More
Majority of the
questions?
time, we got our own worst critics.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
I kind of live by now some of these young folks mindset because I mean, being from where I came from, like you feel like you had to take these certain paths in order to know what success is. And now I'm just at a stage in my life where it's like I'm being okay with, again, if I make a mistake and knowing that I can turn it around because that's what we do. We're gonna make mistakes and not overthinking the situation too much. And just let it just fly off the cuff. That's
Yes.
kind of like my model thing.
Because now that you know the lights went out, now you learned what to do, right? Had that not happened, Kay, then now you're like going to be aware. So those
Right.
mistakes are needed.
If I ever have a lighting issue again, I promise you it's not gonna be because I didn't charge it or it wasn't plugged in.
What you gonna do?
Huh?
You said you're gonna do what?
I said, if I ever have another lighting issue, I promise you it will not be because I didn't charge the damn thing or I'll have a plug. It won't be because
And we're getting ready to close out. But that particular interview was with me, and we was talking about the movie that they did E40S, which deals with the writer was actually a survivor from human trafficking.
Yes.
And the interview and the conversation was so good. I didn't even notice her lights went out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Most times, most people aren't gonna notice all the things you notice.
Right.
And I was taught again by my mentor, don't apologize. Just keep moving. In media, we call it forward motion. Keep going. Just keep going forward because it's time, right? It's time. And it's all time moves forward. Don't go back. Now, when you get off the air, you can go back and look and then try to make improvements.
Right.
But to your audience, don't bring it up because then that's what they'll hone in on. Right? As opposed to they probably wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't said anything. So just keep going. Just keep going.
Any other questions? This has been amazing.
Okay, so you've already stated what you are. Remember the most powerful words are the words you say after I am. So every day when we wake up and we say, I am smart, I am healthy, I am happy, I am. Everything we say after those words are so powerful. So you started with, I am an overthinker, therefore you are. Change it. I am not an overthinker. Okay, because what is overthinking? Again, you're see another one. I've been doing it for so many years. We have to be careful of the words that we speak because it's biblical. It's biblical. You're giving it life. And every time you're saying that, you're giving it life. So we have to learn to, we have a thought before it comes out of that gate. Ask yourself, is this going to help me or hurt me? And it is a practice. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. See, because you followed up with another one.
Yeah.
So overthinking, it's only stressing you out. And it's also lack of faith. When you overthink, it's because you have lack of faith. Yeah.
I would say that in the opposite too. It's like, and I do that. I've been a huge overthinker, and it is stifled me.
Yes.
In my growth. And try to tell myself now is when I know I'm in my mind overthinking, I say simply, who told you that?
Yes.
And if no one told me that, then why are you sitting here? And I say that to myself before I even let it even hit out in the
And
atmosphere.
you've heard that
Yeah.
when you go to a cemetery, there's so many dreams of people that were overthinkers. They
Yeah.
never started something because
Never.
they were overthinking it,
Yeah.
or they were perfection.
Yeah.
They had to have everything perfect before they started.
Yeah.
Or they, my slogan for my company is jump in. Again, I was thinking it a stream. It's a stream, jump in, because I'm a jumping kind of girl. Like I don't wait too long to make decisions. I have faith. I ask God. I hear Him, and I move. I move. So it's if you overthink, there's going to be a lot of things left undone, and you'll never start something. And you just have to jump in, and you just have to go, and then start perfecting and evolving. If you would have looked at Fishbowl in 2009 to what it is today, it looks total. And I have people that have been with me the whole time. It looks totally different. I've had 6 different websites. I mean, it's an evolution. It's a journey. It's a growth, and that's the fun part: the developing, the evolving. But if I would have sat and overthought everything, I would have never gotten started.
Won't go anywhere. Because your mind, you will keep
Your
yourself
own
there.
mind will be your worst enemy. So you got to retrain how you speak. You got to train how you think. It's hard. It's hard. It's a practice.
You pray and ask God for a sound.
Yes.
Strengthen your mind to think as He wants you to think, your tongue to speak,
Yes.
and your heart to love as He wants you to.
Yes. Amen.
And you know, that's.
Amen.
I would say that is an era where you do it. As
Mhm.
much as you can do it, there's something that. And say every day, I am a child of God. I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes, I'm a lender, not a borrower. Yes. Yes.
So that means that since God created you, only He can divine.
Yes.
We can't do that. And know too, put the word back and say, you know what, I choose to take every thought captive and make it obedient unto Christ. I
Yes.
struggle from time to time.
It's like a muscle. It's a muscle.
Yeah,
You gotta do it.
I am absolutely amazing. I'm
Mhm.
fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And somebody said something the other day. They said, you know what? Their mom told them, okay, you know Satan don't like you no way. Why are you having tea with him? Why are you believing what he's telling you?
Mhm.
Did he come, did those words come from God or did they come from Satan? Let's just kill that.
Mhm.
So it's like, I believe you. And just keep saying it over and over. I choose to say every thought captive. No, devil, you can't have my heart. I'm the sound mind of Christ. You just have to keep speaking. I mean,
Yes.
Every day,
all day.
Yeah.
That's all day. I'm in the shower.
You got a chance to correct it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
God has given us all the tools, but
Yes.
we do, all of us do. We forget. We
Yes.
get caught up, and then you're like, you know what? Before we know, we got a headache.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what?
What did I do?
We use the weapons of warfare. This is
Yes.
spiritual warfare. We don't use our weapons that He already given us.
Yes.
They're all spiritual. This ain't flesh.
It is.
Spiritual warfare.
But that's why having a podcast, a place to have a voice that you can affect a lot of people is very critical. Because words give life or death.
And that's why I listen to a lot of different podcasts and things like that.
Oh, no.
Because all day long at work,
Yeah.
I'm working. I'm always something
Yes.
positive, something
Yes.
inspirational.
That's it. That's it.
Well, thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you,
Let's get
guys.
ready. You came even and taught us and then preached to us. You can't ask for nothing.
Hey, we're here to serve. All glory to God. All credit to God. First and foremost. He is the CEO of my company and he is the CEO of my company. Period. And so,
Well, we
Yes.
thank you so much.
thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah.
Anything you all need, let me know. My number, if you want to write it down. I love to mentor. I love to help and be a resource. If you have questions to anything in the realm that I know, don't call me about cooking.
We already know that.
Don't call me about dancing. Don't call me about, that's why I became a DJ because I couldn't dance. Don't call me about, really, this is what yeah.
I can sing, but I cannot dance.
Oh, and don't call me about singing. Oh, girl. Yes. So, yes, it's 817-832-0081, and I'm here to serve you in any way that I can. If I don't answer immediately, just let me 832-0081. Just leave a message, tell me, say, hey, Sammy, we hung out the other night.
But again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And hopefully you all learned something.
That's it. We bless.
Yes, a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
So now,
Thank you,
when I
Sammy.
call
Thank you.
y'all, no, y'all done got the training. That's like you got to learn.
Wait, I got 2 pieces of advice I always leave my classes with and speeches with. Number 1, do not give a damn about what anyone else thinks. Stay vertical.
That's it. So you already ready.
So only care about him. Stay vertical, because don't worry about anybody else. And number 2, no one is you, and that is your power.
Yes.
Now that is a quote. I read it one time somewhere and it said unknown, and I can't find who was the author of that, but it's my favorite quote because that is the truth, that no one is you, and that is your power. So be yourself. And don't worry what anyone thinks, because guess what? You are gonna have haters. It's okay. And you're gonna have likers and supporters, and that's good. So don't worry. Pray for your haters, wave it up. Hey. Yeah. Yeah.
Gift for you. You can take it home and open it. It's something special else in there, so you can call me when you're ready for interview. I'm trying to get on her show.
Whenever you're ready, let me know.
It's a note in there. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You let me know when you want to do. When's your next event? When's your next play? What's going on? We don't have anything. You know, we're in the middle of Texas Indie for 2024. Yes.
So they're judging right now. The judges are in there looking at films, and they're doing it. Yeah, we actually got 65 submissions this year.
Oh my
we beat our last year's submission.
Wow. They have to get called.
In the morning.
Yes, 5 in the morning.
Asking, can they put their film in? It's over. Yeah. Saturday. It wasn't 5, it was 2 a.m.
Was it 2 a.m.?
They must have been up drinking.
They woke up 2025.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. But yeah, so hopefully you can come back and hang with us again. So we can hear what it's doing. Good.
We had fun.
Katie, thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Bye. Y'all have a good night.